Okay, here's a video explaining the homework from day 2, 9.0. All right, so we've got a survey of 50 students shown in the Venn diagram. How many students played an instrument? So that would be any of the students that are in this whole circle, which means we have to add 23 and 14 together. So then our final answer would be 37. Okay, so how many students play a sport? That would be everybody in the section that plays a sport. So everybody add together should be 24. Okay, so how many students do both of those things? That's just the 14 that's right in the middle. And how many students do not play a sport altogether? That's the lonely little 3 down there in the corner. All right, how many students play a sport but do not play an instrument? So if you're looking at everybody that plays a sport in this circle, we want the ones that are not inside of the instrument circle, so I don't want that one. So it's just that 10. Okay, now if you pick a student at random from this data, what is the probability that they play a sport and an instrument? So this is a different question because it's asking for a probability. Let's talk about playing a sport and an instrument. That's that 14, right? That's right in the middle. Well, out of the whole, like if you were to pick a student at random, there were 50 students in this survey. You can see from the text up there, but you can also, if you take 23 plus 14 plus 10 plus 3, which is all the numbers from the table, you also get 50. So basically our probability would be the 14 in the middle out of 50. And it says to type your answer as a decimal. Well, that is the same thing as 28 out of 100, which is the same thing as 0.28. Okay, you can do that with a calculator if you want to. I just changed the ratio in the fraction to be out of hundreds instead of out of 50. And then I can figure out the percentage pretty easily from there. That only works if it's like simple numbers. Okay, going on to the next part, we can take the Venn diagram and turn it into a tree diagram. So the people that played an instrument and a sport is this part right here, and that is that 14 in the middle. Okay, and then we played an instrument but did not play a sport. So if you played an instrument, you're in this circle, but did not play a sport is that 23 that's sticking out there. So that's 23. And then if we don't play an instrument but do play a sport, so you cannot be in this circle because you don't play the instrument, but you do play a sport, so it's got to be that 10. And then the very last one is people that don't do either of those things, so they're not inside the circle at all, and that's that 3. Okay, then, so a tree diagram is what we just looked at here for question 7, 8, 9, and 10. And we can take the same information from a Venn diagram or from a tree diagram and make it into a table. Okay, and this table actually shows some more information than the Venn diagram. So we've got play a sport and play an instrument. That's that center section, 14. It's the overlap, okay, or the intersection. All right, don't play a sport, but you do play an instrument. So that's the 23. Can you see that these numbers are pretty much the same things that you see here, right? Okay, so don't play an instrument and do play a sport. That's don't play an instrument and do play a sport. That's what goes in that box. That'd be the 10. And then don't play an instrument and don't play an instrument would be the 3. So we got 10 and 3. Now, the only tricky thing here is that this table actually shows a little bit more information. It shows totals. So I can, if I wanted to, add up. So if I add these together, we'll get the total of number of people that played an instrument, which was 37. Okay, and then we can add these together to get the total number of people that don't play an instrument, which is 13. And if I add the totals together, what do you think I should end up with? Well, it's the total number of students that were surveyed, right? Which is 50, and it is. So if you figure out what these two boxes are, they should also add to 50. I'm going to leave that for you to do. We need, going on to the last page, we have a different situation with Philippe, who surveyed students at his school. He found that 78% have Netflix. So that right away is the total number of people that have Netflix. So it goes in the total column right there. So 78 goes here. And then the next part of the sentence says that, and 57 of those students, so 57 of those 78 also have Spotify. So that would be our 57 that goes there. Okay, so I'm just kind of decoding this sentence, these sentences piece at a time. So there are 13 students that do not have Netflix, but do have Spotify. So do not have Netflix, but do have Spotify would be this box here, and there's 13 of them. Okay, then it says 9 students do not have either of them. So this is the box that is neither. That's all the information they give you, and we need to fill out the rest of this thing, right? So in order to do that, we can figure things out by realizing that they need to add up to the total. So whatever the 57 plus whatever that box is needs to equal 78. So if we do that, we just need to use subtraction. So 78 take away 57 is 21. And then down here, 13 plus the 9 has to equal exactly this total, which is 22. And then if I add this together, I get 100. So if that's 100, then the sum of these two things needs to be 100. And again, I'm going to leave that for you to figure out. Okay, so next two questions. 29. Out of all of the students, what percent have Netflix? So out of all of the students means out of 100. And then what have Netflix? Have Netflix would be this 78 up here, right? So then 78 is our numerator. And it says what percent? Round your answer to a whole percent. So that is 78%, because percent is out of 100. Okay, out of all of the students that have Netflix, what percent have Spotify? So now it says out of all of the students that have Netflix. We've just changed this, okay? It is no longer out of all of the students. It's just out of the students that have Netflix, okay? Out of the 78. What percent have Spotify? So having Spotify is just this part right here. So it's 57. Let's go back to the right pen. 57 divided by 78. Now I don't have a calculator on me, so you'd have to go 57 divided by 78, which you could do in Go Formative or on the internet. You can actually just type that into Google if you want to. It'll calculate it for you. So I'll leave that for you, so you fill in the box. Okay, next, complete the Venn diagram below. Just enter numbers without any words. So we're going to write in numbers from the table. So having Spotify and Netflix is that 57. Okay, the next section is that you have Spotify but don't have Netflix. So have Spotify is this column and doesn't have Netflix is 13. So this must be a 13 out here. Okay, and then let's go to has Netflix, but it's not in the circle for Spotify. So yes to Netflix would be one of these, but doesn't have Spotify would be the 21. So it's going to be 21. Okay, and then we've pretty much used all those numbers. The only one left is the 9. And if we want to verify that, that's does not have Netflix and does not have Spotify. It's a 9, so it's not in either circle. Okay, these are the 4 numbers we're going to use for these 4 branches, just like we did before. So we'll have has Netflix and has Spotify is our 57, just like it was before. Has Netflix and doesn't have Spotify. So that's has Netflix is this circle, but doesn't have Spotify, so it's just the number out there. So that's 21. And then we've got does not have Netflix and does have Spotify. So Spotify, but does not have Netflix, so it can't be in this circle. It's got to be out there, 13. And then doesn't have either would be 9. I hope this was helpful.